Alright, so we are going to talk about energy transformations in information transfer, and in particular with these guys. Now, we're also going to discuss why having a range of information systems is an advantage. Okay, so let's get into it. So first off, law of conservation tells us that we can only transform energy. Now remember, a transfer of energy is moving energy from one place to another, and that happens, and transformation of energy is changing from one type to another. So energy usually can exist as both kinetic and potential energy in our information systems. And there really is a transformation that occurs at every single stage, and that's kind of what defines the differences between the different stages. These are easily shown with a flowchart. So often there are inefficiencies with the transfer. This can be remedied by having access to a wide range of information systems with a high level of specificity. Okay, so the phone. This is pretty simple. You've got kinetic energy, it's sound energy, that's you talking. That moves the microphone backwards and forwards. So it uses electrical energy there, which is voltage changes, and they go through the landline and come out as sound energy, by changing how the speaker moves. Alright, mobile phones, slightly different, a lot more going on. So you've got your transmitting mobile and your receiving mobile. So here we make sound, and that changes it to electrical, as has happened before, and then turns it into electromagnetic radiation, or radio waves. Now that goes from your phone off into, till it finds an aerial, which is the central mobile exchange. Now this has two choices. One, it turns it electrical, and then sends it to sound if it's going to a landline phone, or back into electromagnetic radiation, off into when it'll be picked up by the next phone on the phone's aerial, and be changed into electrical energy and sound and light. Now, alright, television. Basically you have light and sound energy being recorded using, electrical energy. So this then gets converted into radio waves, which then gets sent out and picked up by the aerial on your roof, which are then converted back into electrical energy and shuffled back into light and sound. So yeah, television is pretty straightforward as well. Radio. So you've got the guy on the microphone, he's talking, that's moving the magnet in the microphone, and that's going to create electricity. This is then converted into a sound wave, a radio wave, which is then sent, through the air to your stereo at home, where it picks up on the antenna, changes that into electricity, which moves the speakers backwards and forwards, and that creates sound energy. Okay, so each stage is a transformation. Alright, compact discs. There are actually two things that we're concerned about here. We have electrical energy, which then recreates a mechanical, to convert to a mechanical energy, so movement of the CD, so rotation. The sensing system has light, so it uses a laser and it finds a bit that's turned on and off, the ones and zeros that we keep mentioning, and that turns that to electrical energy, which then goes to a speaker and moves that speaker backwards and forwards, making sound energy. So a lot of them you'll see, well, especially because we're humans and we tend to be auditory, a lot of them get turned into sound. Alright, so there are advantages of using more than one information system. You can talk about specificity to task. In other words, you can have all of these different communication systems which do different jobs, and this means you might need to send using AM radio waves, which go for a very, very long distance. But if you need to get something short and sharp, you can use FM, but it can only go a short distance. Reliability. Some forms are more reliable. For example, you might need to walk around, with a wireless device, which means you might need to use Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is another way of transferring information from one place to another. If you use Wi-Fi, that's all good and well, but it's less reliable than a data cable. But if you start walking around the room with your computer, all of a sudden the data cable becomes very unreliable. So there's reliability, there's specificity to task. There's also, it says advertising here, but what that essentially means is you've got different ways of getting your message to different people. For example, we could send you out a blast on Twitter as well as an email, depending on what you need. Alright, so that's it. So there are a range of different systems, and they're all useful. And you need to, I guess, just be prepared for class tomorrow, and we'll go through more then. Alright.